Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for those in Malaysia, everybody. My name is Joanna Molina. I'm the one of the co-founders of the Intent Group. Here at the Intent Group, we help you to realize your potential through our international internship programs. We offer remote, hybrid, and also in-person opportunities across the globe. We invite you to take a look at our website. Manami will be sharing a link here, and you can just see all the different options that we have. And feel free to also send an application so you can speak with one of our admission consultants for free. I want to also give a shout out to our open learning platform. This is a sneak peek of our courses. It's based on real experiences for your professional development and it's completely free. We encourage you to take advantage of it. You'll see a lot of fantastic things there. So here you can also get the link. Thank you, Manami. You can take a look at those. And if we have here program participants, you already have access to the full learning platform with all the courses. So don't forget to check it out as well. We will be providing a skill certificate after this session, so stay until the end because we will let you know how to receive it with a link that we'll share only until the end. And now let's introduce our wonderful speakers. I'm very, very pleased to have Ellie and Brian here. If you have any questions for our speakers during the event, you can put them in the chat, you can raise your hand, or you can also send them anonymously in the Slido. It's something that we will be putting here as well for you. So you can send them. If you are a bit shy about asking questions, we'll be sharing a Slido link with you. Now straight to our speakers. So I'd like to introduce you to Ellie Wookie. I hope I actually pronounced your last name
You
correctly.
you have. Thank you. Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Ellie. Nice to meet you all. I'm the founder of Press Upload, and we work with athletes to help them build and monetize their personal brand on social media. We're seeing this huge rise of athlete-driven content, athletes launching businesses, being content creators, and essentially trying to help them develop their personal brand, their content, commercial opportunities, and yeah, an incredibly exciting space. And I'm also trying to develop my personal brand as the founder, so utilizing LinkedIn, YouTube, all the social media platforms to do that for myself. So day to day, personal branding is a term I think about, speak about constantly. So very excited to be here and to speak about such an exciting topic.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you for accepting the invitation, Ellie.
Of course.
And also Brian Dosh, LAS career coach. Brian, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You know what? Nobody does, but it's okay. It's okay. No. You did that. It's all good. So it's Dosi. You see a baby deer go by, Dosi. Yeah. Hey everybody, my name is Brian. First of all, thank you so much, Joanna and the intern group for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I'm a career coach for the University of Illinois, Chicago. I work inside their liberal arts and sciences college. So I work with undergraduate students in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences in everything you can imagine about career development, resumes, interviews, but most importantly, we work a lot on career exploration, internship exploration, and major exploration as well. So when I get to work with students, I work with them on creating their authentic personal brands to create a career or a path for themselves that aligns with what they do, both online in spaces as well as offline and in person as well. So as much as I have to share about uh my 5 years so far and counting in the career development field, I'm like just as excited to learn more about personal branding, learn more about how it can be translated to online spaces such as Instagram, TikTok, more social media sites. So I'm just really excited to be here.
Amazing, Brian. And maybe let's start with you since your microphone is open and straight into the topic. We really have two authorities here on personal branding. Why do you think personal branding is important?
Yeah, that's a really good question. William Shakespeare said that the whole world's a stage and everybody's an actor. And for the longest time, that is how all social interactions work. Long story short, I received my bachelor's degree in sociology, and the sociological framework is how I see everything in a way, especially personal branding. Um, and so personal branding, when it comes to making connections with other people, it's very, very important to communicate your authentic self to other potential employers, other people that you are networking with. Because at the end of the day, the career field in whatever industry you go into, it's going to be very, very social. There's a study where I think I could be messing up the numbers, but I believe like 70% of professionals received their positions through networking, and they received their connections through other people. It wasn't just by going on LinkedIn and applying, it was by somebody they knew introducing them to another person that then was able to get them the job, that was able to get them the internship. And this is a commonality across all different industries, across all different areas. And so when it comes to yeah, personal branding, I like to think of it as a way of just sharing your story and sharing who you are, what you're interested in, and why you are interested in that. Now, the challenge that I've been encountering with a lot of students in today's world is that a lot of students are finding difficulty in that communication, right? So we have amazing students that are doing awesome, awesome work, but they're having trouble in communicating how does that work translate to the career that I'm interested in? How does this translate to the industry that I want to go into? So I like to think of personal branding as as that filter or as that communication that students and people in general can use to connect themselves with people in the industries that they're interested in.
This is absolutely wonderful. How about you, Ellie? What will you add to Brian's answer?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think, every human being, regardless of whether you're an athlete, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you work in any industry, every human's got a story to tell. And I think personal branding as a sort of a concept allows you to bring that story out. And it's incredibly important from a personal perspective, professional perspective, to really feel that you're telling your story, you're connecting with people in the age of AI and social media, where there is that connectivity somewhat. But I don't think we've lost that desire to sort of connect and be with people, person to person, in person, as opposed to sort of being online. And I think that forms sort of personal branding, in its entirety. And it's been huge for me personally in terms of me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and as a person. The benefits and opportunities I've got from it has developed my confidence. As confidence is an ever developing thing, but I've absolutely developed a ton of confidence from putting myself out there. Pressing upload, which is the name of my business. We're helping athletes press upload. That's sort of the name behind it. And I'm trying to do the same too. So it applies to every single person, and we've all got an incredible story to tell. And it's just utilizing the platforms, the tools we now have to do that.
So Ellie, when did you become aware of, okay, personal branding is a thing and I want to be building my own personal brand, and how did you do that for yourself?
Yeah, so in terms of my background, I've always loved traveling and being quite creative in creating content. So when I was at university, I started a travel brand, and that was YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and just creating content within that niche. And through that, developed an understanding of, wow, like this is amazing, the opportunities I can get from posting content, whether that's brand partnerships I secured, whether that's collaborations with other content creators. And it opened up this world of opportunity. And I was just thinking, how can I help others do this? And I thought, obviously, athletes is my niche I've got into, but from a personal perspective, I'm still on that journey and still developing the process of building my personal brand. And I've been creating content for quite a long time, but I've still got a long sort of journey ahead of me in terms of creating that content. And I've shifted from travel to founder driven content. So posting thought leadership kind of content about the athletes we work with, brand partnership, the space more broadly of sort of athlete marketing. So my content niche has shifted, but the intention and purpose is the same in terms of trying to create impact, trying to tell my story, and trying to unlock opportunities for myself personally, but also, excuse me, also for my business, at the same time.
Someone wants to know more about that travel brand. How did you study that travel brand in university?
Well, it's a kind of a weird one. So I started a travel brand during the pandemic, which sounds like a very weird time to start a travel brand because obviously we couldn't travel. But essentially, before going to university, I did a gap year. So I traveled to quite a few countries, and I wrote some blog posts about it, took some videos. I wasn't really a content creator at that point, but I needed like a lockdown passion project. I'm a busy person. I like being busy, and lockdown meant my routine shifted like overnight, basically. And I was sort of searching for this project. And I sort of thought, well, I've done my gap year, I've traveled, I've got this curiosity to create content. Let's start a brand behind this. So it started as a blog, then became a podcast, then a YouTube channel to document my year abroad. I did in Barcelona. I studied Spanish at university. So did the year abroad and documented my day in the life, just my friends and family. And it became something that just developed from that point. And TikTok and Instagram content sort of came along, and a few brand partnership opportunities, and it developed progressively over a period of time. So that was kind of the journey behind it. It started as a lockdown pandemic passion project and turned into something that I was able to monetize and thoroughly enjoy, doing.
That's really fascinating. How about you, Brian? How will you describe your personal brand? What has been your journey with your own personal brand?
Yeah, well, I mean, before answering, I just wanna say, Ellie, your story is awesome. And something I love about what you just shared is how your personal brand is so genuine to who you are as a human being, right? You didn't have the mindset of how do I become a travel expert, right? How do I become how do I monetize all this stuff? What can I do to make it there? You took it one step at a time, right? Where
Yeah,
you started and you were just like, I genuinely love traveling. I love hanging out with family. I love sports. And you started your projects from passion, right? And from
yeah,
purpose without that uh the commodification to it until later on when you were realizing, oh my gosh, wait, this is something that could happen, right? And so I think what you just shared is incredible with your
thank
personal brand.
you.
I would
I
advocate
appreciate that.
absolutely, and I would advocate for everybody here on this call to engage in that as well. And so for me, in terms of my personal branding, I'm really happy Ellie is here because it sounds like Ellie is really, really great with the TikTok, the Instagram, all of the social media platforms. I'm starting to learn and grow. So luckily in my team in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, there are a lot of team members that are very, very well versed in social media, technology, all of those different areas. I'm still growing in that area. I really enjoy the offline communication. I really enjoy the offline spaces. And so my journey with personal branding, I how to answer this. So I felt like a lot of I think it didn't occur to me until I started this position as a liberal arts and sciences career coach. So as I was going through my educational journey, I was very motivated in helping students who are first generation, students who are from low income, that or are hold minoritized and oppressed identities in various systems to uplift them and to provide them resources to get into the spaces that need to happen. And that is something that has been motivating me for the past, my goodness, like 10 years almost in everything that I do. And when that is happening, I saw it as my mission. I saw it as something that I want to do. And it wasn't until I started my role at University of Illinois Chicago when my supervisor sat me down and was saying, "Oh, that's your personal brand. Like that's your story. That's something that you enjoy doing." And I had this window shatter moment where I realized two things. I realized, correct, that is my personal brand, but I also realized that creating a personal brand isn't limited to just the online space, right? I think earlier in the conversation, Ellie and I were talking about um, how it's so easy to go online and see celebrity figures or famous people creating their own personal brands and thinking, okay, if this person I don't know, like let's say one of the Kardashians is like using Instagram and going on here all the time, I have to do that for my personal brand. In reality, that is the furthest thing from the truth. You can create your own, not just what your own personal brand is, but also the style of your personal brand. So on the day to day, what that really looks like for me is I really enjoy the one-on-one conversations that I not only like to have with students, but I like to have with professionals as well. I enjoy going to events and workshops and different festivals, not only around University of Illinois Chicago, but just over in Chicago in general. And so sharing this insight with students is a really transformative thing because it's definitely helps them reshape their view of personal branding, but it also allows them to find a lot of comfort in how they communicate their personal brand as well.
I love that you offer that angle of not only you build personal brand online, as you will imagine, but also in person, showing up, going there, meeting people. Ellie, how will you say would be maybe the first steps if someone is thinking about building and communicating a personal brand? How do you do that both online and offline?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I'm kind of evidence of doing the both. So I've got a networking event actually after this conversation today in person in London, which is really cool. So that's a prime example of in person, networking, personal brand building. And I also today I've been creating content on my socials. That's the sort of online version of the personal branding, and I think it's good to have a hybrid approach. So doing a bit of both, and but also what you feel most comfortable doing, because you don't want to say you want to build a personal brand, which is a great starting point. You don't want to put yourself too far out of your comfort zone so you stop, so you don't do it, so you don't continue with the journey. So little by little, put yourself outside of your comfort zone, whether that's posting a bit of content, whether that's going to a networking event, just doing something as a starting point. But also having the understanding that we're all on this journey collectively, everyone building their personal brand. No one's got the 100% answer to how to do it. And you hear all these gurus saying, do this, do that, and you pay £1,000 for a course. There's all these people out there speaking a lot of noise about it. And I think it's quite important to sort of take a step back and think, what's my why behind it? What's the purpose? Because if you've got that, you'll have longevity with posting content. You'll continue to go to networking events because you fundamentally enjoy it. We say this to the athletes all the time that we work with. It's like, we're going to suggest content to post that will, tick the algorithm box and get you likes and comments and shares, but also let's focus on content you actually really enjoy posting. Because if you enjoy it, you'll stick at it for a long period of time. So I think it's incredibly important to have that balance, and balance can sometimes be hard to find. And it's test, iterate, adopt, evolve your sort of strategy, your personal branding strategy. And whether that's at the start, it's more so you show up online and then you transition into more so like in-person events, or vice versa. You start, maybe going networking first in person, then you start creating content on YouTube or launching a podcast. So everyone's journey looks that bit different. And I think that's why it's so exciting, is there's not one size fits all. It's a multitude of opportunity, and it's just trying to find your feet in the space or whatever industry you're working in, and just taking that first step, trusting you've got a story to tell, and then just being confident to tell it, basically.
And something you both mentioned earlier is about staying authentic. It's very easy to
Yeah.
say stay authentic, but you need to really know yourself in order to be
Yes.
able to show yourself as an authentic person and confidence. Are there any things that, what have you done for that essentially, to show yourself as the authentic Ellie, the authentic Brian?
That's sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to go. I was
You go. No, Brian, you go. You take it.
yeah, I was actually just thinking about that, hearing your response, Ellie and Joanna. When I work, so I in my role, one of the things that I get to do is I get to have one-on-one coaching appointments with students. And wherever students are, when they meet me, whether it's looking over a resume, preparing for an interview, looking for a job, anything like that. The most important thing that I talk about with any student is reflecting on who they are as human beings and not just limiting it to the career field, not just limiting it to, oh, what do you want to do for work? What do you want to do for money? But who are you in the human being sense? Because it's very easy in the work world that we're in to think to divide ourselves in different sections. So we have our work life, then we have our social life, then we have our personal life, right? And then we have all of these things. I'm of the philosophy they all blend into one, right? If something bad happens to me, before going into work, it's going to be, I'm a teddy bear. It's going to be very, very difficult for me to show up like switch and act like nothing's happened. So when it comes to identifying who our students are, we use a lot of different frameworks from there's this really great book called Designing Your Life. I can look up the authors really quickly. And there's also another great one called What Color is My Parachute? And so in these books, they really emphasize, okay, let's identify who you are. So the four big prompts that I love to work with students before talking about their personal brand. First of all, what are you interested in as a human being? Skills, what do you enjoy doing? And then the two other ones are values. What do you value in work? What, because of course money, but there's also so much to value in that, right? There's time off, there's work-life balance, there is staying in one place, being virtual, being hybrid. What do you like to do? And then the last thing is like there's what societal challenges are happening in the world that you want to work towards. And so rather than focusing too much on a specific job title with students when I work with them, we create this idea and we realize that, oh, okay, irregardless of what job title I'm looking for, with the combination of skills I have, the combination of my interests, values, challenges that I want to work towards, there are always going to be roles that revolve around those four. And what matters is just picking and choosing which ones I'm interested in today.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on that, a specific example within Press Uploads, so was working with athletes is we've got a framework which is positioning, presence, partnerships, and obviously that's sort of sport and athlete related, but the positioning is a starting point. So it's brand identity. So like Brian said, it's values, it's interests, it's where are you positioning yourself on socials or in person? Like, who are you? What is your brand identity? Then it's presence. Presence is basically the content ideation side of it, the content output side of it. So what are you actually sharing? What are you posting about? What are you talking about? And then it goes on to partnerships, which for the athletes, obviously, we're trying to secure the partnership. So there might be a next natural step for other people, whether it's monetization, whether it's launching something, a project that comes from that initial sort of positioning and presence. But it's a step-by-step process. When I speak to athletes that get a bit overwhelmed by the thought of sort of building their brand and posting content, I'm like, just take a step back and try and keep it as simple as possible. What's your brand identity? What do you want to be known for and stand for? And what content do you need to post to match that? So it's just trying to keep it simple. Sometimes it can be quite overcomplicated, but we just try and make it as simple as possible. And just the first step, like I said, taking that first step, putting yourself out there, going to a networking event or just posting a TikTok or launching a blog, whatever it is, that's just the first step. And that's the most important thing, is taking that first step.
I like that, Ellie, because like it can be so overwhelming.
It can. It really can.
Even for today, right? Like thinking, okay, like how do I communicate myself to employers so I can get into this field? And it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so much pressure, especially
Yeah.
with students, right? When it's like, okay, I have classes, I have
Yeah.
family life, I have to succeed in everything. And so your framework of like breaking it down, focusing on one thing at a time, I
Yeah.
cannot like reshare that enough.
Yeah.
But that is truly gold right there.
100%. Because in your case, Ellie, as you mentioned, the last P will be partnerships. So it's
Yeah.
how for these athletes, they get to monetize their brand, but also if we're
Yes.
thinking about students, potentially their outcome will be, when do I get a job? And
Yes.
in a way,
Yeah.
you need to also have a lot of humility, because there's going to be
Hmm.
quite a lot of no's in the process. So every
Yes.
single step is important. Maybe
Hmm.
you'll have some rejections, maybe,
Yeah.
but also how you learn from all those rejections and all the
Yeah.
process. Just enjoying the process of building that
Yeah.
personal brand is important. So the question that I'm wondering, for people that, let's say, are starting their careers right now, how do you
Hmm.
start that? Is like, do you start thinking about the personal brand when you already have something to show the world? I see a lot of people in LinkedIn saying, or some of our interns saying, I don't have a LinkedIn because I don't have a lot to show to the world. You don't need to necessarily wait until you have lots of experience to go out there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Ellie. What is
Yeah.
the moment to start building your personal brand?
I think the best time is today. It's not next week, not next year, but today, if you haven't sort of already started it. And it goes back to my point about every human's got a story to tell. And it's just being confident that people do care about that. People do value what you've got to say, whether it's, announcing a new project or a thought or perspective or idea you had over the weekend that you want to share with the world. That's as simple as it needs to be. It doesn't need to be a YouTube launch or a podcast launch. That can come later down the line if they want to get to that. But as a starting point, LinkedIn's a fantastic platform. It's very few people actually post content on the platform still. A lot of people are just consuming content and observing what people are posting. So if you take that initiative and post content, you're one of very few people actually taking true advantage of LinkedIn as a platform, let alone all the other kind of platforms. So I think, like I said, it's keeping it simple, trusting that you've got a story, but also having the confidence. We spoke a lot about confidence before we sort of joined the main call, and confidence is incredibly important. And it's like a muscle. It gets developed over time, and sometimes the muscle gets strained a bit and you lose the confidence. And I've certainly had setbacks in my sort of personal confidence journey, and that's okay. Not everyone's perfect. You'll have setbacks and not sort of things that don't go to plan, but it's important to sort of try and keep developing and training that muscle of confidence and just putting yourself out there, because you never know what will happen. You never know who's watching or who's listening, and opportunities can come from that, whether that's employment, whether that's launching a new project, whether that's monetization, whatever it is. You never truly know who's watching. And that's one of my biggest takeaways that I've had over the last 12 months, posting content to promote my business. I've had conversations with people that they've not liked my posts on LinkedIn or commented, but they say, oh, I saw your LinkedIn content, I saw your post. So they've been watching. So you never truly know the impact it can have until you just start posting and then seeing the impact that it does have.
And then when you say posting, what advice will you have about posting? There is a question there on how do you balance self-promotion and humility? And if you go into LinkedIn, you tend to see a lot of that, like,
Yeah.
this is the certificate I got, or this is that or the other, versus adding value. What will you say to
Yeah.
people into how do you actually add value, and what is the right balance?
Yeah, right. Sorry, Brian, do you want to take that first? Is it a question? Then I can add after.
Yeah, no, I'm like writing this down, Ellie, so I'm gonna take notes on what you say as well, because
Got
this is
you.
a fantastic question.
I
I,
will. I'm happy to start with that one. Then
yeah, please. Oh my
you
gosh,
can add. So
absolutely.
I think, yeah, in terms of like what to post and what content, I think, yeah, sometimes we do get caught up in worrying about being self-promotional and kind of coming across as arrogant or whatever. And I think, it's important to shout about ourselves and our achievements. That is great. But as a starting point, value-driven content. So like I said, whether it's an idea or a thought or a concept or an opinion, every opinion, thought, idea, perspective is valuable. Everyone's got the right to be able to say what they sort of want to say on certain topics, and LinkedIn's a platform that can just provide you the opportunity to share that. And it could be LinkedIn, it could be YouTube, it could be a TikTok, so whatever platform you sort of decide to go on. But it's never been easier to post content, and never been easier to build your brand. And all the tools, platforms, AI that we have these days to help you with kind of like content ideas and that sort of thing, like it truly is the best time to start posting content. But posting content looks different for every single person. Maybe that's one LinkedIn post per month, whether that's starting a YouTube channel, whether that's posting every day on LinkedIn. It doesn't really matter what that cadence is in terms of volume of posting. It's just starting with something and trusting the process that you've got valuable thoughts and opinions, and then that people want to hear them, people want to interact, and people want to have conversations and listen to what you've got to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And going off of that, something that I'm thinking of, and Joanna, you said this earlier, this key word that I think is so foundational, humility, right? So I teach a career course for undergraduate students, and one of the assignments is creating a LinkedIn. And Ellie, what you were just saying, everything you say, yes, I'm like, we're gonna start now, and it's totally normal to not start with all the content in the world, right? It's okay to start from scratch. That's how everybody starts. Something that I do talk about with students is when they utilize LinkedIn, and something that is very valuable is humility and inquisitiveness as well. So not only posting on LinkedIn, but also identifying, here's a path that I'm interested in. Let me connect with somebody that's in that path that I want to go into. So how does that work practically speaking? Example, I am a student and I'm very interested in interning abroad. I'm very interested in studying abroad in, let's say, Colombia, right? And so if I go to LinkedIn, I see that Joanna is connected with Ellie. I could reach out to Ellie and I could ask, hey, Ellie, I'm really interested in studying abroad. I'm really interested in interning abroad, especially in Colombia, right? Would you be able to introduce me to Joanna for an informational conversation? And Ellie, I assume, would probably say, Brian, you're amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Joanna's amazing. Two amazing people talking together. That's fantastic. And so when I meet with Joanna, rather than taking the approach of Joanna, give me an internship in Colombia, right? And making it transactional in that way. That doesn't feel good. It goes against values, all of that stuff. So instead, framing the conversation as transformational. So being open, being vulnerable with Joanna, being open and vulnerable with the person that you want to be like, and letting them know, hey, you're doing amazing work. I would love to be at the place that you're at today. However, I need help. I need some advice. I need some suggestions. What would you have for me in this position? And so as soon as you create that relationship as you, the student, as me, the student, I open myself up as a blank canvas to learn as much as I can to build on regarding next steps, pieces of knowledge, things that will help me in that
Mhm.
road. And then Joanna, I assume on the other end, is going to feel so good because Joanna, rather than being told by um, somebody, you know, hey, can you get me a job or get me an internship? Joanna is getting told, hey, tell me about your experience. And Joanna gets to take on that position as a mentor, somebody that gets to share her
Mhm.
wisdom. And so that is going to help tremendously in whatever career industry you choose to create for yourself.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What the specific example you just gave, and it's linked to a question we have here in the chat because like it's an exciting moment where we have access to almost anyone. Like everyone here in this conversation has access to almost anyone through LinkedIn. It's how you approach it. So I know that it's an app that could seem a little bit intimidating or complex as we have here in the chat, but if you approach it as well with curiosity, you can just ask questions to people. Brian, you posted something last week and you can ask questions. How about this? How about that? And start by asking good questions and showing curiosity, building that personal brand. Like it doesn't have to be you, the expert, it can be you, the curious person that is willing to learn. That also is a personal brand, right?
You
Would you?
become the expert by learning from other people. So like I've not always been an expert at personal branding or athlete marketing. Like I've developed that understanding and I've observed what people write about the space on LinkedIn. And then in a meeting the day after, I might bring up something I read on LinkedIn the day before. So I was like, well, that was an interesting point. I'm going to start using that in my conversation. So it's an ever learning sort of process. And if I think 12 months ago when I first really started posting on LinkedIn, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to post. I knew that for the work I'm doing, I really need to do it. I need to put myself out there, take myself outside of my comfort zone, reach out to people, but also reach out to people with value, curiosity and value. So can I teach them something? Can I help them out with something? And then you build that trust with the person, and then they want to help you out and they want to continue having conversations with you. So it's absolutely a process to go through. It's not, 0 to 100 real quick. It's really progressive, and it gets better and easier, over time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another thing too, Ellie, that I'm thinking of is how important, because I will meet with students who say, "Oh my gosh, Brian, I still, I'm afraid to post. I'm still afraid to create those things on LinkedIn." And something I learned early on in my journey is that if you are, it's totally normal to feel that fear of posting. A better alternative, commenting on the posts
Yes.
that are standing out to you, right? So not just liking or reacting to it, but actually going on there and commenting, tagging the person, because the comments are really, really awesome places where you're going to be able to get impressions, and you're going to be able to share your thoughts as well. You're going to be able to share your reactions based on somebody else's ideas and be able to build off of that.
Exactly. We have a question. If you network with an employee of a company, does that increase your chances of securing a role at that company then?
Yes, I would say 100%. I think, not only utilizing LinkedIn to post content and comment, like Brian said, in terms of interacting and commenting, but yeah, use the opportunity to connect with people, really fill up your network on LinkedIn with employees that work at the company you want to work in, or whether that's an interest you've got and there's a company that's linked to that interest and you build it up that way. So I think LinkedIn's got so many layers to it, and you sort of got to break down the layers progressively. Not, like I said, don't see it as a kind of, oh my goodness, LinkedIn, there's so much I need to do and think about and post, and that can create overwhelm, which is understandable. So it's important to utilize all the different features and opportunities within the platform, but do it step by step. Don't see it as this kind of overwhelming, huge thing you need to do. Just take it one step at a time and connect with people, chat, and provide value. And I'm 99.9% sure people will get a ton of value from just doing those sort of simple steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So a year ago, I worked with a student who was really interested in tech sales. And so the student, what he was doing a lot of research on tech sales jobs. He was going on LinkedIn, Indeed, but he was more so just looking at job postings. He was looking at internship postings. And then when we met, I suggested to the student, on top of looking at job postings, I would really suggest identifying a specific person at that company, at that organization, ask those curiosity questions with no intended outcome of what's going to happen. Just ask these questions to ask them and see what goes from there. The student reached out to a recruiter from one of the companies that also went to University of Illinois, Chicago. And immediately the recruiter met with the student and was just so impressed by who the student is as a human being, that the recruiter took the student under his wings and said, "Here are all the things and pieces of advice that I'm going to give you to succeed in this application process." And so the student, he worked with me, he worked with my supervisor, he worked with this recruiter. The recruiter introduced him to other people, and as a domino effect, the student is doing amazing work right now in tech sales, around the country. And so what that goes to show is that knowledge on getting into a job is really good on the internet, but in a way it can be limited in comparison to meeting with somebody who is actually at that organization. Because when you meet with somebody who is in the thick of it, in the with the employer that you are interested in, they're going to give you, if you ask for it, amazing advice and suggestions that are going to be near impossible to find online.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Um, how about like tangible examples that maybe you both could share with the people right now about how has your personal brand helped you? Like a tangible example where your personal brand, you say, wow, this is worth investing in my own personal brand because I achieved X, Ellie.
Yeah, 100%. I've got even examples from this week. So what we're looking to do within my business is get a partnership with the PSA, which is the Professional Squash Association. So the global sporting body for squash. We've just started working with a squash athlete, and what I've been trying to do on LinkedIn is shout about her achievements, how we've helped her. And what we got this week was the CEO of the PSA liked the post and connected with me on LinkedIn. So then that then hopefully increases the likelihood that we get a contract with the PSA to work with more of their squash players. Then another example, I also met yesterday with the founder of a brand that we're looking to secure a partnership with one of our athletes. And he knew of me because of my content, because of LinkedIn. So now I'm more likely, fingers crossed, to get a deal for one of my athletes because I've utilized LinkedIn as a posting platform for my content to build my brand, but also to connect with people within companies that are the decision makers for maybe, having a brand partnership with an athlete. So that's two examples from the last 24 hours, to be honest, in terms of like how having LinkedIn, how me posting content, building my brand has helped my business. So immediate impact. And that's just, yeah, literally within the last sort of day or so.
That's really cool. How about you, Brian?
Yeah. So, when it comes to me and my personal brand, I like to keep it very, very simple. Where again, I enjoy the in-person conversations, and I also enjoy seeing how I can help people and infuse my whole entire persona, if you will, into my work. So, one thing to know, as much as I love career coaching, as much as I love working with students, I'm also a really big movie nerd. I go to the cinema constantly. I am obsessed with movies. My colleague Shabri is in the chat right now. She can attest to this. So, one passion project of mine has been outlining for students at University of Illinois, Chicago, how they could create careers for themselves in film, in TV, in media. And I was at a film festival a few weeks ago. And when I was at this film festival, I surround myself with other fellow film critics, other fellow people that are in the film industry, and through them, I was able to connect with two really, really cool people. I was able to connect with the head programmer of an independent movie theater in Chicago. And I was also able to connect with the founder of one of the studios for Chicago that produces a lot of really quality Chicago TV shows, movies. And so, based on these conversations, I went in with it with as we were talking about of this level of not expertise but wanting to learn expertise, right? Or wanting to gain that expertise. And so I was open and I shared with them again, hey, my name's Brian. I'm a career coach at University of Illinois Chicago, and I let them know of my idea that I would like to collaborate to share opportunities with students that are interested in film, TV, media. And I asked collaborate. Like, can I meet with you for coffee to hear your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas? And immediately, both people said, yes, absolutely. I received their contact information. And it has been such a busy week. So I reached out to them and yeah, we are getting everything started, which is really, really cool. And that just goes to show with your personal brand. I think Ellie, you mentioned this earlier, is that you have no idea who knows who. You have no idea who does what. And so, even outside of work, even outside of school, you have no idea what the person sitting next to you is doing, or who they know, or who they are connected with. So always, always, always in every interaction that you have, be ready to be open about who you are, your interests, your values, your skills. Be ready.
Exactly. And you just mentioned networking, and we have a couple of questions precisely on that. For a lot of people, even the word networking gives them a stomach ache. It's like, it's hard for a lot of people. How do you
Yeah.
actually network properly? How do you stand out in a networking event, Ellie? And then Brian.
I think it's finding the right event. So for example, the event I'm going to tonight is for it's within the sort of scope of the creator economy, essentially. So other content creators, people working within the creator economy space. And that's really positive for me within myself personally and my sort of content journey, my business. And, I think I would feel a bit more apprehensive if I was going to an event that I wasn't really sure my purpose, sort of the purpose behind me going, or who I would talk to, or what I would say. Because once you have that first experience where you've gone to an event, you've vibed with people, you've connected, you've chatted, you get the buzz for it, and then you think, oh, well, I want to go to another event. So I think it's making sure that there are lots of events out there. Don't feel like I need to go to every single one. See it more so as quality as opposed to quantity. So pick events and opportunities to speak to people that is value driven, that's going to really help yourself and the other people, instead of trying to go to loads and loads and loads of events just to say you're networking and to make it look like you're going to loads of events, because sometimes that gets overwhelming. So I think, my summary of that is quality over quantity.
I co-sign that 100%. Quality over quantity all the way. And going back to what you were saying, Joanna, about the language of networking, in my class, whenever we talk about networking early on, I always so I challenge students to reframe it in all honesty. And I say, okay, we're not going to call it networking. We're going to call it making connections with people. We're going to say making friends. And the reason why is because when I talk to students and I say, oh, meet with this person, make this person, make friends with them, students tell me all the time, oh my gosh, I feel so much pressure off my shoulders now, right? Because when it comes to networking, it seems like there's this tangible outcome I get, which isn't always guaranteed, and that's okay. Versus making friends or making connections, it's organic and it's natural. And so when it comes to those big events, thankfully there are a lot of great events that happen in University of Illinois, Chicago. Our office actually just had a careers in health event that was really, really great. And so when students on, I let the students know, talk to the professionals as human beings. Like they are just as human as you are. And so what do I mean by that? Is that a lot of students believe that they should go up to a professional, let's say Ellie, right? Go up to Ellie and say, Ellie, when was your brand founded? When was this, right? When was this? A lot of, I like to say, like Googleable questions where you could look them up on Google and find the answer to that. Instead, I would challenge the students to talk with the employers as people, right? So, for example, as soon as I logged in, I was like, Ellie, how did you get involved in this business? How did you get involved with sports? Tell me about your history, right? Tell me about who you as a person are and how you get into the world that you got into. And when you build a connection based on that, is as you're not just somebody that is like a part of that business, but you are somebody that is in that business, right? Like that person mentality first, you are going to go again light years by doing that.
Yes, exactly. I remember this is a long time ago, but we were starting the intern group, we got invited to, there was this Summit of Americas with the CEOs of all the big companies of the Americas, and we were there like entrepreneurs. I was super intimidated. I was like, what am I even gonna ask these CEOs? But one of the things that I will say to people, even if you are in a place where I wasn't necessarily really looking forward to be, but you end up being, is once again, go back to curiosity and being that, like showing that genuine interest. I remember I was with David, my co-founder, one of my co-founders, and we were asking about habits, for example, like what sort of habits do you have that has helped you get to where you are? And then you really can learn from it and see what you can apply to your own experience as well. And people love to talk about themselves, and so all you do is ask questions, and that's good.
Yeah,
um
it's so true, and and the points you've both made. Like everyone's human. You might look at someone who's a CEO of a company or an entrepreneur or a famous person. At the end of the day, we all do the same things day to day. We all wake up, we all have breakfast, we all have to make ourselves lunch, whatever it is. We all do those things. So it's trying to have appreciation for people, respect them, obviously, and want to show curiosity and value. But they're just another human being, a wonderful human being, as we all are, but they are just another human being like us. And I think it's trying to just have that mentality reach out, be a bit courageous and bold at the start. And once you do that, you sort of develop that. That's what's, confidence is a process. You've almost got to like fake it till you make it until you do feel that confident, because it's a process. And even, the Kardashians, they go through the same processes, So it's an important sort of process, but it's just taking that first step and having the confidence to do so.
Absolutely. One question we have is about networking outside of, let's say, LinkedIn or in person. Can you also do that through other platforms like Instagram, TikTok? How do you do that?
I mean, Instagram has got communities these days, so you sort of have your own community. So there's a lot of features within the different social media platforms that can facilitate connection, collaboration, community. So I would look into, one or two platforms. Maybe it's LinkedIn and Instagram or YouTube, and Spotify is a sort of a podcast network, and see what sort of communities and collaborative efforts you can facilitate through those different platforms. Because in 2025, almost going into 2026, like I said, there's no better time to utilize what we have around us. There's no easier time to build your brand and post content. We've got so many resources that can help support and facilitate output of content, of conversations. So I think that's a great sort of starting point. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what's really great about all of these platforms is the interactivity of all of
Yeah.
them. Yeah, Ellie, going back to what you were saying, I don't think not only has there been a better time to create content, but also for a space of creators and audience to engage with one
Yeah.
another as we're living in right now. So going off of Instagram and TikTok, I was able to work with one example I could think of, I worked with a student who was really interesting enough, in going into sports marketing and going into the field of the background of sports. And we were looking at different tools and trying to figure out what works best. And the student, they weren't really interested in LinkedIn, which is totally normal, and that's okay. However, they really enjoyed Instagram. And so something we realized is that the same networking practice we used for finding professionals on LinkedIn, we can translate that perfectly into Instagram. So what the student did is they literally searched up sports marketing for different teams, keywords, hashtags, scrolled through to see who used those different hashtags, scrolled through people's profiles on Instagrams, where she found a professional on there who said something about sports marketing, sent her a direct message, and the professional reached back out to her immediately and was like, "Thanks for reaching out. I love talking about my role. Let's meet for a virtual coffee chat. I will be more than happy to tell you how I got to where I'm at and how to succeed in this field." And because of that, that student got an amazing head start in their journey, not just by networking in general, but by networking using a platform that they are comfortable with and they enjoy.
Time has really flown by. I can't believe we are almost wrapping up. Thank you, Manami, for sharing the link to the certificate. We have a really good question about like how can you make your personal brand stand out during an internship to secure a full-time job? Brian.
Good question. I'm looking through my notes right now. I would say, I think going back to this point of curiosity is going to help a lot. Um, I also I also want to bring awareness to this idea of challenge-based career coaching. So this was made by a career coach in Canada. His name's JP Michelle, and this was in the early 2010s. And the main idea is, rather than looking for a job title, look for what is a challenge going on in the world or in this company, and how can I work to find it. So, as it relates to an internship that students are in, I'm a big advocate of students asking these professionals, what are projects that you're working on? What are challenges that you're facing in the industry? What are things that are going on that you are having trouble with? And then what are things I can do to help with that challenge? What are things that I can do to help with that problem? A lot of students, of course, are very, very income motivated, which is absolutely important. And going off of that, asking people what challenges they're going through, it provides you a great opportunity of, okay, let me create this own experience for myself, right? Where I can work on this. And then by taking that initiative, right? So let's say Ellie meets with Joanna, right? Ellie asks, hey Joanna, what are troubles you're facing? What can I do to help? What can I do to work on this? Joanna's going to be blown away. Joanna's going to be completely impressed that when Joanna goes back to meet with the CEOs, meets with the colleagues, and the CEO and colleagues go up to Joanna and say, "Hey, how's everything been at the intern group? What's new?" Joanna's immediately going to say, "Let me tell you, I met with one of the greatest interns yesterday, Ellie, who went above and beyond by asking me taking initiative rather than waiting to see an issue, created her own path for herself." These CEOs, these professionals, they're going to hear that and they're going to realize, who's this Ellie Wookie person? Let me connect with her. Let's see who she is. So, going back to your main question, Joanna, when it comes to networking, not just searching for jobs or searching for roles, but going out of your way to ask, what are the challenges that you are facing in your role right now or in the organization? What can I do to take action on it today?
Fantastic advice, Brian. Ellie, what will you add?
Yeah, I mean, I love the thing you said, which is create your own path, and I think that's incredibly important. And in terms of how you can stand out and really be unique, see yourself almost as a bit of a business. What's your USP? What's your unique selling point, right? And don't have too much of a business mentality because that has sort of pros and cons of that. But I think keeping it simple in terms of what have I got within my skill set, my interests, my hobbies, my passions, my work, my family, my friends. I could end this list of things that you can sort of create content and talk about and pick. Within the athletes we work with, we develop content pillars. Within the content pillars, content ideas. So the content pillars are themes essentially. So within yourself as an individual, think what content pillars, what themes can I talk about? What am I passionate about? What am I interested in? What's my USP? What am I known for? Have I got a certain opinion about something? Have I done something extraordinary 5 years ago that I hadn't really talked much about, but I think people would find quite interesting? There's so much to unlock. There's content around us. I'm sat here in a cafe and I can think of so many things around me that I could probably talk about or create content about, right? So it's trying to see what's around you, don't overcomplicate it, and think what about me stands out? What do I enjoy? What can I be known for? And just then from that point, seeing it as a process that evolves, adapts, iterates, and then you've got a personal brand that evolves with you because as humans, we're all evolving. I'm not the same person as I was 5 years ago. And I'm not, in 5 years' time, I won't be the same person as I am now. So it's just a process. And that's exciting.
100%. And don't, what I will add there as well is like, don't be afraid of asking and just having those conversations. Like, look if there are openings in your company. Also, speak with your tutor or manager. I have an example to really quickly share. We have an intern that she came to me saying, "How do I secure a job in this organization?" She was a marketing intern and she had identified lots of opportunities within the company. So I said, how about you put together a presentation for your boss? And she did. So she put a presentation on everything she learned in the internship, all the like opportunities for improvement that she had identified and how she could contribute to solve them. So almost like selling herself. So guess what? She got hired. And so um, you can also, as you said, Ellie, look at yourself and just build that self-confidence. I know it's not easy, it's a process, but
Yeah.
it's within your power. Like you yourself put your own limits. We all put our own limits. And so building that personal brand, this is what we are talking about here as well, is self-confidence. This has been fantastic, Brian and Ellie. Thank you so much for sharing. Lots of value added here. I'm walking away with, do you want to build your personal brand? When do you do it? Now. Like, when is the time? Now. How you do that? Well, it requires thinking about who you are.
Mhm.
How do you want people to remember you step by step? You don't have to go like wild influencer, big. step by step you can create and add that value and think what you want to achieve. Is it a job? Is it increasing your network? Is it getting sponsors, etc.? And we talk a lot about certain ingredients like confidence, humility, curiosity, adding value, etc. So thank you all for attending. Thank you for all the questions. I think we have a couple that we didn't even have the time
You.
to
I was
cover.
gonna say really quickly, can I put my LinkedIn in the chat? So if
Please, I was just going to
anybody,
say,
okay, I was gonna say
Yeah,
if
I was going
we
to say,
want people
yeah,
to,
if any of you have any other questions or concerns about personal branding, career development, don't hesitate sending me a message, reaching out. Yeah, so I would be more than happy to connect, stay connected, and continue the conversation with all of you.
yeah,
100.
me too. Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been great to chat, and more than happy to continue the conversations over DM it on, LinkedIn, and we can connect. And yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation.
Thank you, both of you, and
Thank you
everybody
so
for
much.
joining. Take care and have a good rest of your day.
You too, Joanna,
Thank
Ellie,
you.
you all are amazing. Thank you so much. This was such a
Thank
blast.
you.
Enjoy the
Awesome.
rest of your day, everybody. Take
Thank
care.
you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.